You think giving her distance means losing her, but the truth is the opposite. You think pulling back makes you weaker, when in reality, it's the first sign that you finally remember your worth. Listen carefully. If you need the kind of truth that wakes you up instead of soothing you back to sleep, subscribe now, because some men do not need more entertainment. They need reminders. They need clarity on the days they're tempted to betray themselves just to feel chosen for 5 minutes. Here's what it really means when you give her distance. It does not mean you are playing games. It does not mean you are punishing her. It does not mean you suddenly stop caring. It means you stop crowding the connection with fear. It means you stop trying to force certainty where there isn't any. It means you stop treating your anxiety like it's love. And that right there is the shift. Because most men are not suffering from too little effort. They are suffering from too little self-respect. You think if you text more, explain more, prove more, stay available more, she'll finally understand your value. But value that has to beg to be noticed stops looking like value. It starts looking like desperation, hard truth. The more you abandon yourself to hold on to someone else, the less attractive your presence becomes. Not because she is cruel, not because women are impossible, because nobody trusts energy that is trying too hard to be accepted. Nobody relaxes around someone who is gripping for reassurance every second. That pressure changes the air. It changes the tone. It changes you. And you know this already. You felt it. One unread message turns into three. One delayed reply becomes a whole speech. One quiet evening becomes you spiraling, checking your phone, rehearsing conversations in your head, trying to solve a problem that may not even exist. You stop sleeping. You stop focusing. You stop leading your own life. You stop being present with your own goals, your own friends, your own body, your own mind. You stop. You stop. You stop. And then you call that love. No. That's called emotional dependency. That's called panic disguised as devotion. That's called self-abandonment wearing a romantic mask. Let's get even more honest. The reason distance scares you is not because distance is dangerous. It's because distance exposes what you've been using her for. Validation, certainty, escape. You were not just reaching for her. You were reaching for relief. You wanted her response to settle your nervous system. You wanted her attention to confirm your identity. You wanted her availability to protect you from your own emptiness. That is the root cause. The fear is deeper than her. It's about what happens inside you when no one is there to reassure you that you matter. And that is why so many men ruin potentially good connections, not because they care too much, but because they lack inner structure. They have feelings, but no frame, desire, but no discipline, passion, but no purpose. So the relationship becomes the center of gravity. Everything orbits around it. Every mood depends on it. Every thought bends toward it. And the minute she pulls back, gets busy, needs space, becomes uncertain, or simply has a life of her own, he collapses. Why? Because he built his emotional house on borrowed ground. That collapse has a cost, a brutal one. It costs you your mystery because you explain everything too soon. It costs you your calm because you react to everything too fast. It costs you your edge because you start negotiating from fear. It costs you your dignity because you say yes when you mean no, stay when you should leave, overgive when it is not being reciprocated, and keep trying to earn what should be freely mutual. Worst of all, it costs you your identity. You forget who you were before this person became your weather. That is why giving her distance is a superpower. Because distance is where truth reveals itself, not the fantasy, the truth. When you stop flooding the connection, you see what is actually there. Not what you hoped was there, not what you tried to force into existence. Reality. Does she come toward you when you stop overfunctioning? Does the connection breathe better without your pressure? Is there mutual effort when you are no longer performing all the emotional labor? Or does everything disappear the second you stop carrying it? Good. Now you know. Painful, yes, but clean, honest, real. Distance is a filter. It burns off illusion. It separates interest from convenience, connection from control, peace from attachment, love from need. And a lot of men avoid that filter because they would rather stay busy than face the answer. They keep contacting, keep over-explaining, keep reaching, because as long as they are doing something, they can pretend the story is still alive. But movement is not progress. Noise is not intimacy. Contact is not closeness. And effort without reciprocity is not noble. It is denial. You need to understand the difference between presence and pressure. Presence is grounded. Pressure is needy. Presence says, I'm here, I'm clear, I'm open. Pressure says, please decide my worth right now. Presence is calm enough to wait. Pressure is addicted to immediate reassurance. Presence respects both people. Pressure consumes both people. Which one have you been bringing? Be honest. Because if you've been bringing pressure, distance is not the threat. Distance is the medicine. And medicine often tastes bitter before it heals. The man who understands this moves differently. He does not chase confusion. He does not beg for consistency. He does not audition for a role in someone else's life. He is not cold. He is not cruel. He is not trying to dominate anybody. He is simply anchored. He knows that attention is not commitment. Chemistry is not character, and desire is not alignment. So he watches actions. He listens for effort. He notices energy. And when something feels one-sided, he does not panic. He adjusts. That man has a life that exists before, during, and after any relationship. He wakes up with purpose that does not depend on a text. He trains his body because discipline steadies his mind. He handles his work because his mission matters. He keeps his word to himself because self-trust is the foundation of masculine peace. He does not disappear into infatuation. He does not throw away routines, standards, or boundaries because someone finally gave him attention. He can love deeply without kneeling before uncertainty. He can care without clinging. He can desire without dissolving. And that is why his distance has power. Not because it manipulates, because it reveals. When he steps back, he is not trying to trigger a reaction. He is refusing to betray himself. Big difference. One is strategy. The other is standards. One is control. The other is self-respect. Do not confuse them. If you give distance just to make her chase, you are still trapped. You are still orbiting her. You are still obsessed with the response. That's not power. That's performance. Real power is when you pull back because your peace matters more than your panic. Ask yourself a question. When you keep reaching for someone who is unclear, what are you really saying? You are saying, your uncertainty is allowed to become my emergency. Wrong. When you keep overgiving to someone who keeps undershowing, what are you really teaching them? You are teaching them that access to you requires no consistency. Wrong again. When you keep trying to prove your value to someone who has eyes but still does not see it, what are you really confessing? That you do not fully believe in your own value unless it gets reflected back. That is the wound. That is the crack. That is what must be repaired. So let's reframe it. Giving her distance is not about losing connection. It's about ending distortion. It's about removing your fear from the equation so the truth can breathe. It's about returning to center. It's about making sure that if love exists here, it can stand without you holding the whole ceiling up by yourself. Because healthy connection does not need to be chased every hour. It can survive silence. It can survive a pause. It can survive two adults having separate lives. If it cannot survive that, then what you had was not stable intimacy. It was emotional dependence with good timing. Now here is what you do. Stop sending the extra message when the last one was enough. Stop trying to clarify what has already been made clear by behavior. Stop interpreting mixed signals as hidden depth. Confusion is not mystery. Confusion is confusion. Stop checking her activity like it is evidence for a court case. Stop rewriting your standards to keep someone comfortable. Stop acting like your availability is love. Availability without boundaries is self-neglect. Do this instead. Say what you mean once, clearly. Then be quiet. Watch what happens. Redirect your energy immediately. Back to your work. Back to your training. Back to your sleep. Back to your nutrition. Back to your friends. Back to the projects you've been delaying because your mind has been rented out by overthinking. Rebuild your day so it no longer collapses around one person's inconsistency. If she reaches with clarity, meet clarity with clarity. If she gives effort, meet effort with effort. If she stays vague, stay gone. Not angrily, not dramatically, cleanly, Hold your phone less, hold your standards more, shorten your explanations, lengthen your patience, lower the fantasy, raise the filter. Ask fewer questions meant to squeeze reassurance out of the moment. Ask better questions meant to reveal reality. Is this mutual? Is this peaceful? Is this consistent? Is this helping me respect myself more or less? That last question will save you years. And if she says she needs space, give it immediately. No speech, no guilt, no hidden punishment, no emotional invoice, just space. Why? Because someone asking for room is not always rejecting you. Sometimes they are being honest, sometimes they are overwhelmed, sometimes they do not know yet. And your job is not to force certainty before it naturally exists. Your job is to remain solid enough to handle the truth, whatever it is. If that truth is that she returns with clarity, good. If that truth is that she fades away, painful but useful. Better a clean wound than a long infection. This is where weak men fold. They hear silence and rush to fill it. They feel discomfort and scramble to end it. They sense distance and turn into salesmen, trying to pitch their loyalty harder. But the grounded man does not do that. He lets silence speak. He lets actions expose intention. He lets time reveal character. He understands that every relationship eventually asks one hard question. Can you stay yourself while caring for someone else? If the answer is no, you are not loving. You are merging. And merging without boundaries always ends in resentment. You do not need to become colder. You need to become clearer. You do not need to care less. You need to cling less. You do not need to avoid love. You need to stop abandoning yourself in the name of it. That is the maturation. That is the level up. Not becoming emotionless, becoming governed, becoming centered, becoming the kind of man whose heart is open but whose spine is intact. Because here's the truth nobody told you loudly enough. The moment you are willing to lose what disrespects your peace, you become stronger than the thing you were afraid of losing. Read that again in your mind. The moment you are willing to lose what disrespects your peace, you become stronger than the thing you were afraid of losing. That is freedom. That is dignity. That is the beginning of real confidence. Not the loud kind, not the fake alpha theater, but the quiet kind that changes the room because it is not begging anything from it. And yes, there is a chance that when you stop chasing, she notices. There is a chance the energy shifts. There is a chance your absence exposes your value. Fine, but that cannot be your motive. Your motive must be truth. Your motive must be self-respect. Your motive must be, I do not perform for love. I participate in it when it is mutual. That frame will protect you. That frame will clean up your decisions. That frame will stop you from wasting months on almosts, maybes, and mixed signals dressed up as potential. This is your reset. You do not need one more late-night spiral. You do not need one more humiliating paragraph. You do not need one more attempt to squeeze certainty out of someone who has not earned that level of access to your mind. You need structure. You need standards. You need to remember that your life is not a waiting room. It is the main event. And the right person will not require you to become smaller, weaker, needier, and more self-betraying just to keep them close. So give her distance if distance is what the moment requires. Give it with calm. Give it with dignity. Give it without bitterness. Let it reveal the truth. Let it return you to yourself. Let it show you whether this connection can stand on real ground or only on your constant effort. And while that answer unfolds, build. Build your body, build your mission, build your routines, build your inner stability so thoroughly that no one person can hijack your identity again. You are not powerless here. You are not at the mercy of unread messages, delayed replies, shifting moods, or uncertain signals. You are the one who decides what access costs. You are the one who decides what behavior qualifies. You are the one who decides whether love will be a place where you grow or a place where you beg. That is your power. That is your responsibility. That is your superpower. And if nobody has told you this lately, hear it now. You are not the extra in somebody else's emotional drama. You are not here to convince, overextend, and overfunction until someone finally sees you. You are the answer. Not because you control the outcome, but because you control the standard. You control the response. You control whether you remain a man of self-respect when the moment gets emotionally expensive. So stand up internally, quiet the noise, put the phone down, let the space do its work, let the truth arrive, and let yourself become the kind of man who would rather be alone in dignity than attached in self-betrayal. If you want more messages like this, more truth when your emotions get loud and your standards get shaky, subscribe. Not for me, for you, for the reminder, for the reset, for the voice that calls you back to center when you're about to hand your power away. Stay here, stay sharp, and stay with the men who are done confusing self-abandonment with love.